For sure. Yeah, let's start with Eric in California. Eric, what's on your mind tonight?
Oh, that was fascinating. Fascinating listen. I'm calling. I am counseling a couple, been together for a long time, married. The is a male, a biological male married to a biological female. The male has transitioned to female. There's been a top surgery, and they're still together, very much in love. And they've come to me to help them with the sexual attraction of this, because the wife was attracted to the male, the former person, and that body, that whole physical, the thing carrying around that person. And there's going to be a full transition physically in the future. And they've asked if I could assist using my abilities and my the techniques and skill set that I have to assist them with that. Now, I'd love to have your advice, because this changing somebody's attraction to something else technically could be called conversion therapy, which is a huge big no. And I know that that's not what's happening here, because every party in this, the both partners and we're all on the same page. But there's still that little nagging voice in my head that's saying, "You're doing conversion therapy." That's a huge no. So please.
No, I hear that question. I think it's a really fascinating one. And I definitely don't mean to pick on you for language, but I do think that it can be kind of instructive here to just look at that framework, because when we talk about like biological male and biological female and transitioning from being a biological male to now, it gets really, really messy. And I can see the conundrum here. And so that's one reason why I think it is very valuable to recognize that biological notion is at best a shortcut and not a particularly accurate or helpful one when we are already talking about somebody who identifies as being trans. I think those terms, assigned female at birth and assigned male at birth, really do meaningfully help us to wrap our head around all of this. Because if your client was assigned male at birth, but is telling you that they are a trans woman, then they're a trans woman. Like the transition part of being a trans woman. Yeah. Well, the actual transition part, like the effort and work of HRT, of like social transition, of changing, dress or vocal exercises, all of that is affirming, but it's window dressing. This is somebody who is already a woman, and I can recognize why that causes a lot of confusion, because to their partner, they don't seem to be a woman, or perhaps had been seen as a woman. So it turns into basically a coding error. You have somebody who is a woman, but has historically understood themselves to be a man and is being understood by their partner as a man. And now we're starting to realize, oh, we've mislabeled you. We assigned you a particular role, and it's not the correct one for you. And as we kind of rectify that error, it's natural that we're going to have some discomfort, because if the female partner is not interested in dating women, then and is also no longer able to hold on to that, I don't want to say illusion, but I think it might be the best term here, but that illusion of dating a man or being married to a man, there's going to be conflict. So I hope that at least that framework is a little bit helpful. I think the only thing I could really add to any of that is to say that lots of couples do struggle and break up because of this sort of transition, and that's valid. It doesn't mean that anybody has done anything wrong or that anybody is, the bad guy here. It just may be something of an inevitability. And then in terms of the conversion therapy aspects of it, I think it's less the case that you are asking a straight woman to turn into a lesbian, and more that you are asking a woman who thought herself to be straight whether or not there is enough flexibility, enough fluidity, enough maybe just broadness in her sexuality to find this person that she had previously been attracted to in one way to now be attractive in another.
Hmm.
I know that's me throwing just a
Yeah.
lot at you really quick, but how does any of that land for you?
You've reached the same conclusion that I came to when I was thinking of, when we were discussing this between we were talking about this and on my own, just sort of pondering it and taking it apart and thinking about it. You came to the same conclusion, and that's really reassuring. So I do appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely sounds like a really challenging journey. And it's heartbreaking to think that somebody who had been misgendered, mislabeled, not only by society, but probably by themselves for much of their life, would then need to lose a meaningful relationship in order to realize their identity. And so I think we can be sincerely heartbroken if that is indeed the eventuality, but it's important to recognize that nobody's done anything wrong here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And thankfully, they're in a very they're in a good place. They both have a good mutual understanding at this point. It hasn't reached the brink yet. They're not in the yellow zone. They're still in a good place as far as the physical part of it. But changing the attraction, I think what I'll be able to do with that, like you mentioned, adding this and expanding what her attraction is now, expanding that more. So like you said, not turning her into a straight person into a lesbian, but expanding what her attraction is. I think that's a possibly a really good outcome, and we're going to go for that.
Yeah, and there's no blood test that we can give somebody to say, "Oh, well, yeah, I mean, you're only like 80% straight, so we've got some wiggle room to work with." Like, I know it doesn't work that way, but even if you can't necessarily, stretch or change somebody's sexuality, oftentimes there's going to be some trauma, maybe not even realized trauma, but just by existing in this culture and existing in this society that says, well, this is who men date and this is who women date and all of that. They may have experienced some challenges to any same-sex type attractions that they may have had. And so working to heal that may offer a little bit of that expansion.
Yeah, definitely. People change beliefs. It happens every day.
Yeah, well, and we change, right? Like I think that may be the last tidbit that I might be able to offer is that anybody who's been in a relationship for more than an hour knows that the person they're with now is at least slightly different than the person they were with then. So it was always inevitable that
Yeah.
there was going to be change. Maybe it's not an entirely fair comparison, but it's also not unprecedented to continue to love somebody even as their appearance changes, even as their mannerisms change. And as they grow and develop and mature in these different ways, we can continue to love them. And, the attraction may or may not be there, but I certainly wish them the best. And it sounds like they're in really good hands with you.
I really appreciate it. That's fantastic. Yeah. Good stuff.
I don't have much to add in
Erin,
this
did you say
conversation.
something?
I've just been sitting back and just feel honored to be a part of this conversation because this is something that I'm, I have there's some unfamiliarity with for that. But I appreciate, I don't know,
Yeah.
I appreciate this couple that you're representing right now and their willingness to kind of work with it. So, yeah, I appreciate what Christy had said about just, not invalidating the side of this person who is struggling with the attraction level and just looking at it from more of a deeper level about maybe there was something kind of there in the back too to work with and just recognizing the needs of both people, and there's already been a big shift maybe in their relationship, that there's maybe some deep, expanding even in their beliefs and how their relationship functions to make sure that everybody's needs are met. I think that's very, they sound like an amazing couple, and I wish them the best.
Yeah. Would it be of interest if I were to make a follow-up call in the future to let you know how this progresses?
Definitely.
Yeah, no, very, very much so. I'd love to hear. I can say all of these things as a cis therapist who has had interactions in a clinical setting with trans folks, but I would love to hear how any of the ideas that we're talking about here actually land and are experienced by the people who are living that out. So, regardless of how they receive that, I'd really love to hear those experiences to the extent that you're able to share them with us. Please give us a call back.
Mhm.
Very nice. One thing I did withhold, just because there's a lot of baggage, is I'm going to be using hypnosis for this. There's a mountain of evidence for that as a modality, and I'm prepared to defend that claim.
For sure. I'll just let you know real quickly that I'm trained in
magic.
clinical hypnosis, and we've talked about erotic hypnosis and clinical hypnosis and all kinds of things on this show. So I know there's a lot of baggage to unpack there, and we could probably spend the rest of the hour unpacking some of that baggage.
I would love to hear about it.
Just to agree, there is
I don't have
a
to
dearth
convince
of
you then.
real research there.
I don't have. Yeah, I can tell. Don't have to defend it with you. Excellent. So, I will follow up. Thank you very, very much, both of you. That was very, very valuable. I feel much better about going forward. Thank you again.
Hey, glad to hear it. You have a great night.